Many games and shows handle radiation and mutation in very different ways. I've always loved Fallout, but one thing that I've never really clicked with, or I guess really liked, is how it handles radiation. Instead of seeming like this concept or this horrific thing that hurts an individual, it's rather a beneficial sort of goal. Sure, ghouls look ugly, but they live forever, and in some cases there's hints of them not needing to eat food, drink, and even having benefits in terms of being stronger. It doesn't make any sense. So let's discuss how long people in this world can live and how radiation might affect someone that lives in this world. And that means talking about how long people live. Not to be brutal, but life expectancy in Barren isn't how it is nowadays. The average person probably lives closer to around 45 as a good age. And some individuals don't even make it to the age of 25. A lot more like the world used to be long ago. With that in mind, life expectancy and radiation exposure don't intertwine well. Now, ignore that I might not be the best at graphs here. The higher your exposure to radiation, the lower your life expectancy. And in this world, the higher your radiation exposure in this world, the lower your life expectancy. Now, that is due to things like cancer and other things developing. So while you might live for a while afterwards, you'll experience some health issues and eventually meet an early end. Radiation isn't something that is ignored or simply pushed aside. There are entire specialties and specialists in this world that deal with radiation, areas covered in it, have suits for it, interact with it. People don't simply ignore it, as they know it is extremely dangerous and have seen far too many examples of why you should take it seriously. Now, that being said, I'm not going to get rid of all the fun parts of radiation. So let's put that to the side. If this is how radiation normally looks, we have something called Nukrosis. Now, Nukrosis is this disease. It's a rabid, mutated form of rabies, at least it's believed to be that, and it is caused by extreme pockets of radiation. Hosts of Nukrosis are often subjects to extreme mutations. They adapt to their surrounding environment very fast, very rapidly. And while the mutated virus may seem like a blessing to these Deformed, it is more akin to a curse, drastically reducing that person's lifespan and often becoming their true weakness. The reason this occurs is because Nukrosis over time is essentially a disease that self-destructs the person it inhabits, or the thing it inhabits. You mutate, until eventually you're unrecognizable and you simply die. Usually this is due to your skin not being able to contain you, or simply something like an extreme infection due to all the open wounds you have. The mutated virus in the Unbroken Kingdom has become widespread and a true issue in the Unbroken Kingdom, and there are many cases of it spreading worldwide. Now, Nukrosis life expectancy is something interesting because it's kind of like this. Let's say someone gets Nukrosis. At that point, you adapt, and then your life expectancy, you could say, is high up. You, in a sense, are stronger, faster, adapted. But there comes a point where you almost hit a plateau, and then you simply change. That can happen in creatures, in humans, in different things in the world. Now, Nukrosis is essentially the fun version of radiation. That's because, obviously, I want that in this world. It's fun to explore, it's fun to draw. But I also want to explore that same level of consequence If you get power, it should have a consequence in a game, especially if it's simply for obtaining a disease that is easily obtained. That consequence is your character in this world not living that long, and over time changing and changing and changing until they're not recognized, or until it's too far gone. What some people in this world would call madness. Essentially, when someone is too far gone. A good example of Nukrosis in this world is Tara O'Doherty, a strong woman, once a head figure in the company known as Mech, often seen on magazine covers and used as a figurehead to speak and discuss how the company was moving and changing. She now is completely unrecognizable. Her body is changing, her features becoming more masculine, her muscles growing, and parts of her completely changed. She is now unrecognizable due to this disease, and part of that is due to the fact that the nature of this disease is that of a ticking time bomb. Essentially, part of your body is stretching and changing, unable to contain your muscle mass, and just how strange it can be varies from host to host. One of the most extreme examples of just how obscure and random this disease is the gutter bug. A man, well, not much of a man anymore, once normal, inflicted by this disease, has seemingly changed and changed and changed to the point where he resembles something closer to nightmare fuel. This bug that roams the gutters below, seemingly harmless, still having some human features, but now featuring a few hints of what maybe once was the man. A smile is engraved on what is essentially a huge Nukrosis boil, and his face riddled with scars and boils. Completely unrecognizable. Some would say death is less harsh. Much like rabies when it was first discovered, Nukrosis is widespread but very misunderstood. Some see it as a strength, others see it as a huge issue to tackle in this world. Those inflicted by it are called Deforms and are often segregated, in fact shunned, completely avoided. In the city of York, they are completely walled off, with factions like the Red Eyes, headed by people like Tara. They fight for their freedom. In other places, they're seen as superheroes and people with powers, strengths. The only thing that is certain is all that are inflicted by it become mad eventually. The supposed origin of this disease is that of BioPhage. Once a smaller company in the 60s and 70s, after many years of failure, was bought by a businessman under the name of Dr. Ellingham. The company was completely rebranded with the intention to make the next big breakthrough in bioengineering. Thus, BioPhage was born. From the year 1981 to 1989, many attempts, experiments, and studies would produce limb regeneration that would be finalized. However, behind this company would be many dark secrets, lives ruined, and unchangeable effects would follow. I hope you enjoyed that video, and I want to say a huge thank you to the Patreons on the screen. Alongside that, if you are interested in extra lore, art, or music, head over there and have a look.